How do you know if your cat has worms? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 8 signs of possible worm infestation, intestinal parasites, such as hookworms, roundworms, tapeworms, whipworms, all the worms. And then at the end, we'll talk about what to do about it. The number one sign that your cat could have worms is very mysterious, sneaky, and it's no signs at all. And in fact, so many of the cats that we think are totally healthy, they actually are carrying some level of worm infestation, because these worms, they're everywhere. They're in the dirt, they're in the environment, they're in other animals, they're in wild animals, they're everywhere. So it's very easy for them to actually get into your cat. And so that's why veterinarians like me, when you come in for an annual examination, wants to run a fecal exam, because there are so many times when we check the poop and then we actually find worm eggs in there, and the cat shows no signs at all. Perfectly healthy, happy, no problems, but still has roundworms, because some cats don't show signs at all. So it's always important to have your cat's poop checked at least once a year for intestinal worms, and to have them dewormed at least once a year so that you can avoid that experience. The number 2 sign, so if your cat has a heavy worm burden, and this is more common in kittens and young cats, is a pot belly. And what happens is they just get a really big swollen belly. There's a lot of inflammation in there. There's a lot of worms that are kind of just crowding everything inside the intestines. And so what you'll see with these guys is they come in, they just don't look very thrifty, and they have a big old pot belly. So that's the number 2 sign. The number 3 sign is stomach pain, or what we call colic. It's more common to call colic stomach pain in horses colic, but we also say it for cats. We say, this cat appears to be having some stomach pain. And what does stomach pain look like? It's difficult to determine for a pet parent. For us, what happens is if we go to palpate their belly and feel it with our fingers, we can often elicit a very angry reaction, because these cats, their belly hurts because they've got worms. So belly pain could be another sign of intestinal parasites. The number 4 sign, you actually see worms in the poop. Super gross. I know, no one wants to see worms in the poop. But if you are noticing worms that look like little rice grains, those can often stick around their anus, and you can also find those in their bedding where they've been sleeping. Those are tapeworms. The long, thin ones can be like whipworms. Sometimes there's little short, fat ones. They're white. They're visible to the naked eye, and sometimes they're moving. So that's why I put them as the number 4 sign, because there's a lot of times where people will come to the vet with a normal, healthy looking dog or cat and looks totally great, but they say, I found worms in the litter box. Gross. The number 5 sign of worms is vomiting. The worms make them feel nauseous. Sometimes the worms can actually die inside their intestinal tract, and so they'll actually vomit up dead worms. It's gross. I know, it's gross. But that is another sign that we often see in cats that have worms. The number 6 sign could be related to worms is diarrhea. So the worms inside the intestinal tract cause a lot of inflammation to the gut, and then that can cause imbalances in digestion. And so what will happen is you'll see diarrhea, or you'll see soft stool or runny stool. May or may not have worms present, but if you're seeing that, or if you're seeing vomiting, or if you're seeing really anything that I've been talking about in this video, take your cat to the veterinarian. The number 7 sign in severe worm infestations, and this is more common in kittens and very young cats, is weight loss. So these worms will steal groceries from your cat. They will actually steal the nutrients right away from your cat, because they're a parasite. And so in some of these kittens that have a big worm burden, there'll be nothing but a big pot belly and then skin and bones, because the worms have taken everything. So weight loss could be a sign of worms, especially in young cats. And then the number 8 sign is more rare, and it's actually coughing, because these worms don't always stay where they're supposed to stay, which is in the intestine. Sometimes they decide to go on a business trip and they will go to other parts of the body, and worms can migrate pretty much anywhere. And some of the intestinal worms that we're more familiar with will migrate up to the lungs and cause inflammation there, which can cause coughing. So it's not one that you would expect with intestinal worms, but it's possible. So there you go. You have 8 possible signs of worms. If you're seeing any of this, call your vet, make an appointment. The good news is these intestinal worms are very wimpy and easy to kill. So we have lots of ways to treat them and get your cat back onto the road to recovery, because we want pets to be healthy. So that's all I have for this video. If you have had an experience of worms in your cat, please share it in the comment section below and let me know how it was resolved. Also, if you like this kind of content, please hit subscribe. I have lots of videos coming out with all kinds of health information to help you be the best pet parent you can be.